And view her campaign and donate if possible.
And was this for county commissioner?
Yes.
Race for county commissioner?
That is correct.
And did you ever have occasion to see Jennifer and Joseph's foster daughters?
Yes, I did.
On about how many occasions?
Approximately 3 times.
And in what shape were they in when you saw them?
They seemed like perfectly normal girls to me.
Was there anything about them that alarmed you?
No.
Do you see any bruises or marks?
No.
And did you see any cuts or bruises?
No.
And how did the girls seem around Jennifer?
They seemed very friendly, very nice. As a matter of fact, I believe I told Jennifer once that they were, in my opinion, they were spoiled, but I was saying it out of kindness. Basically, the girls had all the clothes they needed, they had the food that they needed. In addition to that, they were also being taken all over the community, involved with the community, as well as participated in sports or gymnastics.
And how did the girls seem around Jennifer? How did they react to Jennifer?
They were friendly. I mean, they're just normal girls. I mean, I was raised with 3 sisters, so it just seemed natural.
And how did they react around Joseph?
The same.
And how did Jennifer treat the girls?
Well, like they were her own. As I stated previously, she not only fed them, she clothed them, she provided living arrangements for them to include sports activities. I mean, as me growing up as a child, I didn't have that kind of opportunity. I kind of wish I had that kind of opportunity, but...
When Laila was in her cast, did that prevent her from playing?
Not to my knowledge.
Did you ever see Jennifer discipline the children for sleeping in the car?
No.
Did you ever see Jennifer discipline the children by spanking them?
No.
Did you ever see her use a belt on them?
No.
Let's talk about the campaign a little. Did you or Jennifer, did you accompany her to any BOC meetings, Board of Commissioners?
I did not accompany her to any meetings, but she would tell me about them all the time because she was very passionate about what she does. So she would go to these meetings to represent her community and try to do whatever she could. I believe there was one time that they were trying to develop like a general dollar around the vicinity, and she was trying her best to let that not occur around the Ola area. So of course she would go to these meetings to try to express the opinion of the community and try to change or alter their decision going forward.
Did you know the type of relationship she had with the police and the DA?
I know during that time she was also interning, so Jennifer had a lot of responsibilities and a lot of duties during that time period, aside from going to college, going to work, and fostering these kids. She was interning for Jim Wright.
And did you know the type of relationship she had with Mr. Wright?
Just interning for him.
Just interning for him. Okay. We've asked you about Jennifer. Have you ever seen Joseph discipline the children in any way?
No.
Have you ever seen him use a belt on the children?
No.
Any indication that the children were afraid of either Jennifer or Joseph?
No.
And on the occasions you lived with the Rosenbaum, was there ever any type of ritual you noticed involving Joseph and his coffee?
So, as I've previously stated, I've lived with them a couple of times. During the morning, Joseph likes to go downstairs and as soon as he wakes up, he usually goes downstairs and creates a cup of coffee. He usually has a Keurig-based style type of coffee that he puts ground beans into, puts it into the coffee cup, mixes coffee, and then he adds like cream or sugar, but he mixes it with his butter knife that he usually leaves on the counter all day.
Okay, and what else does he do with the butter knife?
He only uses it for his coffee that I was aware of.
Okay. When the girls were around, did you ever see Jennifer drunk?
No.
Did you ever see Jennifer yanking them by the arm, going up,
No, I did
up
not.
and down the stairs?
No.
Did you ever see either Joseph or Jennifer lay a hand on these children?
No.
You worked for Delta for a period of time.
I did.
And when you worked for Delta, did there come an opportunity where you provided assistance with Jennifer and Joseph getting tickets to South Dakota?
I did.
I'm going to show you what I marked as defendants 55 and ask you if you can identify that for the record.
I definitely can. This is the travel record that shows all the tickets that I've issued over the past years, to include Jennifer's tickets that I issued to them for that trip.
Is Jennifer's tickets highlighted in this document?
Yes, they are. Yes, they are.
At this time, I would tender to the record defendants exhibit 55.
Any objection? Submitted.
May I publish, Your Honor?
You may.
While we're waiting for it to come on, it looks like it's coming on. Could you identify for me what I've marked and shown to the state as defendants exhibit 52, 53, and 54?
Joseph, Jennifer, at the actual trip that they took.
Is this a trip to South Dakota?
It was during that trip, yes, during that time frame.
At this time, I would tender 52, 53, and 54 into the record.
Admitted.
Tell us what we see here that's highlighted in yellow.
So what you're looking at here is a PPR number, a personal something number, that's usually associated with travel assignments. So when I issue out a ticket, at least specifically to Jennifer, she would show up as 979633-04. Any number that's reflective that shows that number is Jennifer Rosenbaum. It's one of the privileges provided by Delta Airlines. When you work for the Delta Airlines, you are afforded certain number of buddy passes as well as a companion pass. Jennifer, in this instance, had a companion pass for me that I gave her travel authorization to use my benefits to travel with Delta Airlines. So, as you'll notice, on October 1st, she flew out from Atlanta to MSP, and from MSP to RAP, which was the end destination. Same thing on her return. You'll notice from RAP to MSP, from MSP to ATL. And S3 just means the level of priority that's associated with that ticket. So an S3 just means general priority. I did upgrade her to an S2 at one time, and that was just to ensure that she made it on the plane, because it's all standby. It's not officially confirmed tickets, it's just standby based travel.
Is there any indication that she returned to Atlanta from Rapid City?
Yes, on October 5th, as shown there.
Okay. What is this a picture of? What are we looking at?
That is a picture of Joseph Rosenbaum.
What is this picture of?
That is a picture of Jennifer.
Is that a picture of Mount Rushmore?
To my knowledge, it is. I've never visited the place, but at least that's what I was,
Thank you. I have nothing further at this time.
All right, thank you. Cross.
So you didn't go on a trip within the South Dakota?
That is correct.
So you don't know who all was there except for what's in these pictures?
State that. Could you repeat
You only
that?
know who was in there, who was at South Dakota or Mount Rushmore based on what you see in these pictures?
No, I know for a fact that Jennifer and Joseph traveled because they used my passes and my authorization. Not only did they travel using my passes and authorization, I also monitored the flights because it is a standby flight. There's a lot of risk associated with not making to the flight, so I had to monitor and ensure that I was there to potentially alter their travel through different cities. That's why you'll see the stop at MSP and then to our whatever the airport code is. I forgot.
My question was, you didn't go with them?
No, that is correct. I did not.
You just got flights for Jennifer and Joseph?
That is
to go
correct.
to South Dakota.
Yep, that is correct.
And those pictures are based on what they have shown you that they took?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. And you indicated that you lived with the Rosenbaums at some point in time, but you didn't live with them when they had the girls, correct?
No,
You visited them a couple of times.
I did.
So when you would see the girls, first of all, you never took care of them, you never had to change their diapers, you never had to give them a bath or any of
That is
things,
correct.
right?
No,
So would it be fair to say that you never saw them undress?
that is correct.
Okay. So you don't know what injuries or bruises they may have had underneath their clothes?
That is correct.
And you indicated that they seem to love on the defendants.
Mm-hmm.
Would it be fair to say, but you don't know what goes on behind closed doors when you're not there?
Well, I mean, I only know what I see.
Exactly. So when they're home alone with the defendants, you have no idea what's going on.
No, that is correct. But I can at least, from my years of knowing Jennifer, I could at least, I feel very confident in saying that she treated them very well.
Based on what she showed you?
Based on what I know of Jennifer and Joseph.
Based on what she presented to you when you saw her in school, when you saw her in the military?
That's correct.
That's what you know about her. What she puts out there in the public.
And I've spent quite a bit of time with both Jennifer and Joseph.
And you indicated that at some point in time you were in the military with Ms. Rosenbaum.
That is correct.
And you said you were discharged in April of 2013?
From the National Guard.
From the National Guard. What type of discharge did you receive?
It was honorable.
Honorable. What about Ms. Rosenbaum? Do you know?
I'm not aware.
Oh, okay. I'm going to look for it and find it for you. But while y'all were in the military together, you indicated that y'all had certain training.
We did.
I'm going to back up before I do.
That's fine.
I think Ms. Ms. Mull asked you about Jennifer's relationship with the DA and with the police in Henry County.
Yes.
Right. And to your knowledge, there wasn't any political vendetta against her, was there?
Based on her occurrence to the BOC meetings, at least the way it was explained to me, because I wasn't there, but we would discuss about progress and how things are being approached. There did seem to be some type of discomfort and tension. What was going on with her campaign, and as well as representing the BOC and so on.
And that information came from Jennifer, correct?
Right.
Because you didn't go to the meeting.
That is correct.
You didn't observe any tension or strain or anything of that nature.
Physically, no. In person, no, if that's what you're referring to.
Exactly. You didn't observe it. You were told it by the defendant.
Yes, that is correct.
But despite this tension, she got an internship at the DA's office without going through the entire application process. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
Okay.
I will also add that that was, at least to my knowledge, she was at the internship before it became discomforting.
Before it became discomforting. Did you know it became discomforting because posting things that she had been told not to post by the DA? Not following his directives?
Not specifically.
She didn't tell you that part?
She mentioned several items. Obviously, am I going to remember everything? Not specifically, but I will say that once again, she is a very passionate individual, and she will do her best to do what is necessary in order to accomplish that end state, that end goal. And Jennifer, I feel like she did express to me that there were a couple of postings that may have not been advisable.
So your understanding is that she posted things that she wasn't supposed to, and that's what caused the issue between her
No,
and
no,
Okay.
no.
That's not your understanding.
At least my understandings are separate based off different occurrences.
Based on what Jennifer Rosenbaum told you.
That's right.
And then you told Ms. Mull that you knew that you never saw the girls get a spanking or a beating
That's correct.
or tortured for falling asleep in the car.
That is correct.
How many times did you ride in the car with the Rosenbaums and the girls? Let me ask you the better way. Were you in every car ride
No.
with the defendants and the girls?
I was not at every
So
car.
there could have been times where they fell asleep and they got a whipping, but you weren't there.
I wasn't there every time, so.
So there could have been times when that happened, but you didn't observe it, correct?
It's possible. I don't believe it to be so, but it's possible.
But you didn't observe it and you weren't there every time.
That is correct.
And you indicated that you never saw them get a spanking with a belt or any other object in the home.
That is correct.
But we've established you weren't always there and you didn't live with them during the time that they cared for these girls.
That is correct.
Or were supposed to be caring for them. Correct.
Say that statement one
I
more
said
time.
you weren't there during the time that they were supposed to be caring for these girls.
I was not
Living in the
there
home.
all the time.
Thank you. And you indicated that they were in gymnastics, things that you didn't get a chance to do.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you go to the gymnastics class?
No, I did not.
Did you get pictures of them in gymnastics classes?
I believe Jennifer did show me a couple of pictures.
Did you get a picture of Laila at gymnastics?
At this current moment, I do not recall, but Jennifer was very adamant about showing me a lot of the pictures and how they were progressing, and she was very happy with the girls.
So your expectation was that they were in gymnastics, you would have received pictures of both girls.
I
in
wouldn't.
gymnastics.
I can't say receive, but shown, yes.
Shown. So if both girls were in gymnastics, you'd have been shown pictures of both girls in gymnastics.
Yes.
And you, like I said, you never went to any of the gymnastics.
I did not.
Based on what Jennifer Rosenbaum told you.
That is correct.
And then let's talk about this military training. You said you didn't have training,
That is correct.
but you had, I think, rescue breathing training?
If you want to, okay, so I had combat lifesaver training. There is a differentiation between the two. One's specifically related to combat-related incidents, and CPRs is separate. As a matter of fact, in the training documentation, you will see them stated separately because they are two separate processes.
I asked you, did you have rescue breathing training? We spoke on yesterday.
It was a step.
Okay. We spoke on yesterday.
There was a step
There was a step called what?
that said rescue breathing.
Okay. Did you go through that training?
I went through the combat lifesaver training.
And one of the steps was rescue breathing.
One of the subsets is rescue breathing. However, it is not a performance action measure, but it is stated in the training.
It's stated in the training. Did you have the training?
Yes.
And Ms. Rosenbaum was in that training with you as well.
No, she was not.
So she didn't have training while she was in the military.
She would have had some level of training. Whether it's the same, I cannot state for a fact.
Y'all were in the same unit, correct?
We were in the same unit. No, okay. So now you're mixing a couple of training sessions together because we both attended basic training in separate years. Basic training is when we received this training. She would have probably received it back in 2009. I received it back in 2010. These are way far back dates.
So she would have received it the year before you did.
Yes, if she. Mhm.
What did you learn when you learned that step of rescue breathing?
The step, I believe, if I remember correctly, is followed by, the step encompasses giving air to the victim, per se.
So you walk up on somebody and you just start giving air.
No.
Not steps before that?
There are steps.
What's the first step?
Making sure there's nothing obstructing the airway before you go into that step.
Okay. And the next step?
And then the next step was, from there, then you check for breathing or pulses and stuff like that. It's something in sort of fashion.
Let's start with, if they're not breathing,
Well, no,
is
no.
that when you start giving
Well,
rescue
first
breath?
you unobstruct it to make sure, to be able to verify if they are or are not.
Okay. So you unobstruct it,
Mhm.
and if they're not breathing, that's when you start giving breaths.
Yeah. Well, yes. If something of the sort.
If you check their pulse and they don't have a pulse, you start compressions.
Not that I'm aware of. Not within this training.
So they didn't teach you if someone doesn't have a pulse, they didn't teach you what to do as part of combat training?
No.
So they just said, just sit there and look at them?
Well, I mean, that's, if I'm thinking about the training correctly, that's where it ends, because it's a performance step measure. And at least as far as I can remember, as a matter of fact, it's very interesting points that you bring up, because once again, I do want to differentiate between the two, compact lifesaver course and CPR. CPR, once again, is an accredited course that that's accredited by the American Heart Association or the American Red Cross. This course is not. This course is not specifically tailored for CPR. As a matter of fact, within the training, there is a differentiation between the two. And I'll take it even a step further, because once...
Excuse me, Mr. Moreno, let me ask you the question, because I didn't ask you about your CPR
One second, please,
accreditation.
just an objection.
I asked him to be allowed to finish his sentence. He wasn't allowed to finish talking.
All right.
He indicated he was about to go.
well, it's within the same topic.
Excuse me. Okay. When I'm ruling on an objection, you have to be quiet. Okay? Another thing. There's too much talking over. Okay? Let's see. You can finish your response to the question.
So she mentioned all these steps. In addition, once you're done with the giving air, there is another sub-bullet that references CPR. Within the sub-bullet, it states only to conduct CPR if you know. But this is in the training manual that was published in 2007. As a matter of fact, you can actually Google it. It's compact lifesaver. But as you move further throughout the years, the Army specifically amends that and publishes a new edition in 2012. That bullet is no longer if you know it. As a matter of fact, it states it is recommended to not perform CPR. And it even goes further by stating that CPR is not a combat lifesaver task.
My question was, did they teach you if someone did not have a pulse to give them compressions to help their heartbeat?
I'm sorry, say that again?
My question is, did they teach you if you had a fellow military soldier next to you, they weren't breathing, they didn't have a pulse, you said they told you to give them rescue breaths.
Mm-hmm.
If they didn't have a pulse, you're saying they didn't teach you to do compressions to help their heart continue to beat.
So I will answer your question, and I want to add a little bit more to it, because I think it's a very important question. It stops at that sub-bullet that I mentioned. If you know how to provide CPR, proceed with CPR in 2007. So as you mentioned chest compressions, I was reading through the Mayo Clinic, and the Mayo Clinic references chest compressions as to provide the ability of someone to circulate blood, but not necessarily to add to... I'm sorry, you would have to ask the question again. I think I just lost my train of thought.
My question was, what did they tell you to do if somebody didn't have a pulse?
That's exactly what I just told you to do. I mean, that's... Okay, so I'll restate it again. So it states, if they don't have a pulse, to continue with CPR if you know how to do CPR. If you don't, well then I guess there's nothing you can do but expect for the medic to show up.
So what you're saying is they didn't teach you to do chest compression as part of your training if someone didn't have a pulse?
We did have needle chest decompression, but I don't think that's exactly the same, because it's associated with a needle and where you stab the individual in the lungs.
Did they tell you to push on their chest if they didn't have a pulse?
Not that I can recall.
So they didn't teach you that at all?
Not that I can recall.
So they said just wait and watch them?
They didn't say just wait. I hate to say it, but I guess there's unfortunately so much you can do.
So they told you if they didn't have a pulse, don't do anything if you don't know how to do anything, and they didn't teach you how to do it, is what you're saying.
What I'm saying, I apologize. So what I will state is that if it were me, I would just continue giving them breaths.
And just breathing and nothing else.
I would hope for the best.
And that's what you learned in the military.
Well, being a medic is not my primary job function.
That's not what I asked you, Ms. Moreno.
Hmm.
I asked you, that's the training that they taught you in the military is to just give breast and don't do anything further if your fellow soldier does not have a pulse.
So I have a problem with that statement because you said to not do anything further. I think what they try to do is give us enough guidance to be able to at least to be able to perform something. And using that guidance, I would have just continued with rescue breathing. They never say specifically to stop, but they don't say how to continue.
I know it may be uncomfortable to answer the question, but I need you to answer the question.
Okay.
You said they taught you to do whatever you needed to do in order to save that person's life. But your testimony is it was just based on whatever you decided you needed to do, not what
No. Oh, sorry. Once again, so within those guidelines provided, or at least within the structure provided, that's to the best of my knowledge.
And I'm trying to figure out, how did they guide you if they don't have a pulse? What did they guide you to do in your training?
So there's a lot of steps that occur, at least in combat. Once you don't know what you can do, the only option is to continue the battle because mission comes first. So, I mean, there's only so much you can do until, unfortunately, the victim passes.
So I want to be clear, your testimony is here that the military never taught you to do chest compressions to keep somebody's circulation going, to keep their heartbeat going, doing your basic training. That's your testimony?
If you differentiate the needle chest decompression, then yes.
So they never taught you to press on their chest?
That I am aware of, yes.
You didn't learn that in basic training?
That I am aware of, yes.
Nothing further.
Mr. Moreno, did they teach you how to do a Heimlich maneuver on a toddler?
No, they did not. The purpose of this, once again, is for combat-related incidents.
Did they teach you to do CPR on a toddler?
No, they did not.
Anything else, Ms. Young?
Nothing further.
All right, you can step down.
Yep.
Any objections for this being excused?
Nothing to say.
Next call, next witness.
Amber Evans, Ron? Amber Evans? Ms. Evans, how do you know Jennifer Rosenbaum?
She coached my son's t-ball team.
And when she coached your son's team, did you ever see any anger or frustration toward the boys?
Not that I recall.
Can everybody hear her? Can you please speak up?
Not that I recall.
Just pull the microphone a little closer to you.
How old was your son when she was coaching his t-ball team?
3 or 4.
And did you have occasion to attend a birthday party t-ball banquet at Jennifer's house?
Yes, ma'am.
And in 2015, did you have occasion to see Jennifer with Millie and Laila at the Chick-fil-A
Yes,
back
ma'am.
to school bash? And that back to school bash is outdoors, isn't it?
It was.
And can you describe for us how everything was set up? People sitting on chairs or sitting on the floor? How was it?
I think they put out chairs under a tent. There was like a bouncy house thing, and it was just in their parking lot.
Okay. And did you ever see Jennifer at the Chick-fil-A bash pop or hit Laila?
Not that I recall.
And that is something you would have recalled, isn't it?
Possibly.
You're not happy to be here, are you?
No, ma'am.
And you're here under subpoena. You're not here voluntarily, are you?
Correct.
And you saw Jennifer's interactions with the girls at these various occasions that you went to, correct?
I only saw her at the Chick-fil-A with the girls, not at that birthday party thing.
You didn't see her at the birthday party?
No, that was way before.
Okay. But you saw the Chick-fil-A back-to-school bash. Did you see her anywhere else?
No,
Did
not
you-
with the girls.
Did you see her spank either of the girls or hear either of them cry?
Not that I recall.
And isn't it true, Ms. Evans, that you have written Facebook messages of support for Jennifer, correct?
Right after it happened, yes.
And you told her, what did you tell her in those Facebook?
I don't exactly recall.
Would it help to look at the Facebook pictures to refresh your recollection?
Yes, ma'am.
See if this refreshes your recollection.
Can I take them?
Sure.
Recently, about a year and a half before my mother-in-law passed away, so we were still having that fresh. So with the death of Laila, I went ahead and reached out to her. And I said, I'm sorry for your loss. I had saw a post about the thing on Facebook. And, I said it was one-sided. You could see anyone who knows you knows how much you love the foster kids in our county. If you need anything, we're here for you.
Did you write her any other message?
She responded, and I said that it looked like she cared about the girls when I saw her with them at the Chick-fil-A thing, and we'd be praying for her.
Thank you, Ms. Evans. I have nothing further at this time.
All right, thank you, Cross. And then if you hear an objection, just stop, okay?
Okay.
Good morning, Ms. Evans. You had testified that you saw Jennifer at the Chick-fil-A bash?
Yes, ma'am.
And do you have an independent recollection of what Millie looked like?
No, ma'am.
And do you have an independent recollection of what Laila looked like?
No.
And were you with Jennifer the entire Chick-fil-A bash?
No, ma'am.
So you saw her for approximately how many minutes or seconds?
I just kind of ran into her, did some chit-chat, and kept it moving.
So about 5 minutes?
Possibly longer than that, but nothing significant.
And you never went to Jennifer and Joseph's house when they were caring for the girls?
No, ma'am.
And would it be fair to say that you never saw Millie or Laila undressed at any time?
No.
So you never saw their skin or what could have been on their skin?
No.
And you indicated that you sent a Facebook message in support of Jen or giving her some support,
Mm-hmm.
and that was right after the death of Laila?
Mm-hmm.
Is that correct? You also
Yes,
have to
ma'am.
say
I'm
it.
sorry.
And since writing that message, has your opinion of Jennifer changed?
Object, opinion is not an issue here. She's here to testify as to what she see her did, not her opinion.
She's a fact witness.
After
Sustain the objection.
And after you wrote those messages to Jennifer, have you had any further communication with her?
I did have a little bit.
And what was that communication?
She invited me to a Christmas party thing, and like nothing significant. Yeah.
Did you go to the Christmas party?
No.
And you stated that you were not happy to be here?
Correct.
And how come?
The more that's come out, I'm not.
Well, object, this is a roundabout way of trying to get an opinion in as opposed to fact.
Your Honor, this witness was asked by the defense that essentially she's under subpoena and doesn't want to be here. So I'm just asking her why.
All right, well, Counsel approach.
Experience at Chick-fil-A for 5 minutes.
Correct.
Thank you. No further questions.
You stayed and watched the movie, didn't you, with Rosenbaums that day?
At the Chick-fil-A thing,
Yeah.
I watched a movie there, but I was not with them during the movie.
Thank you.
Anything else for this witness? Thank you, ma'am. You can stay.
Thank you.
Just help you out?
I do.
You may have a seat. If you would state your name for the record.
Mary Jane Rosenbaum.
And how do you know Jennifer and Joseph Rosenbaum?
Joseph is my son. Jennifer is his wife, my daughter-in-law.
And how long have you known Jennifer?
Her and my son got together in 2009 when I was in Iraq. So I met her after I got home.
Did you have occasion to attend any trainings with her?
I did.
Explain to the jury how that came to be.
I was in the battalion. My unit was the battalion. And Jen was in the 190th. When the battalion goes on a training mission or AT or something of that nature, gets called up for a special detail. They usually take some of the companies with them. And being in the military, there's not a whole lot of females. So what they would do would be put all the females in all the units together in the same barracks.
And did you get to know Jennifer that way as well?
I did, yeah.
And was this after she got together with Joseph?
Yes.
Talk to me about, let me ask you a question with regards to training in child CPR or child Heimlich maneuver. Did you in your military career ever get trained in child CPR, child Heimlich maneuver?
Not in my military career. I did in my civilian.
In your civilian career?
Yes.
But in your trainings that you've gone to with Jennifer, have they done any training on a child CPR or child Heimlich maneuver?
Not to my knowledge.
When did you come to find out that Jennifer and Joseph were getting Laila and Millie?
I believe it was June. They were in the process of getting them, and they were on a visitation with them.
And can you tell us what the first meeting was like with Laila and Millie and you?
Sorry.
When was the first time you met the girls?
Jen and Joseph brought the girls over to my house.
Tell me, how did the girls fit into your family?
Very well. Fell in love with them right away.
How many grandchildren do you have, and what are their ages?
I have two, my daughter's children. And right now they're 12 and 14.
And did they spend any time with Millie and Laila?
Yes.
Did you attend Layla's birthday party?
Yes, I did.
And that would be on July 25th, correct?
Yes, I have pictures that say July 25th.
And did you attend Layla's birthday party
Yes.
and Millie's birthday party?
Millie's was, trying to remember the date. I believe it was October 17th because it's my younger brother's birthday as well.
Did you and Jennifer and Joseph and Millie and Laila ever go to Hilton Head?
Oh, yeah.
Can you tell us about that, please? When that was?
We always go the same time. We have fixed weeks. It's the end of July into the first week of August.
And is this a family affair?
It is.
So who all went besides you and Jennifer and Joseph and Millie and Laila?
My daughter, I believe my daughter came down that year for the weekend in between. And the kids were there, her kids were there as well.
And what were the living arrangements? Did y'all rent a house or?
We have a timeshare.
And so August 5th through August 8th, is that fair to say that Millie and Laila stayed there with you all those dates?
August 5th through August 8th. I'm not sure if they did. I
You're
couldn't
not sure
be sure.
of the dates, okay. Let me show you what I've marked as Defendant's Exhibit 57 and ask you if you can identify that photograph.
Yes.
And take a look at that, the back of that photograph. When is that photograph taken?
I don't have my glasses on. So many numbers here. Oh, it says August 8th, 2015.
This time you're on attenuated evidence, Defendant's Exhibit 57, and ask to publish to the jury.
Admitted.
Is this in front of your timeshare?
It is.
And who do we see here?
It's my son, Joseph Rosenbaum, Millie, my daughter-in-law, Jen Rosenbaum, and Laila.
And apart from the birthdays and the family vacations, did you take the girls to Six Flags at some point?
Yes.
And tell us when you went to Six Flags, if you can remember.
It was August, like 28th or 29th.
August 28th or 29th. And what did, who all went on this trip?
It was the girls, a couple of other little girls that I really didn't know, Jen and myself.
And what was your role there for? Were you riding the rides?
No, well, yes and no. I don't ride the big rides because they make me nauseous. So I told Jen that if she wanted to go on the bigger rides with the bigger kids, my grandkids like the big rides, my other grandkids. So she went on the big rides with them, and I took care of the little girls.
Now, how were the little girls dressed at this point?
How were they dressed?
Yes, were they?
Laila was in I think it was a little yellow sundress with little panties that match.
So you could see whether they were bruised or not on their back or their front.
Oh
right?
yeah, it was very loose.
Did you see any bruises or any marks on Laila or Millie?
No.
Did you have occasion to help Joseph watch the girls in September when Jennifer went on an overnight trip?
Yes, she had something to do. I think it was with the county. It was overnight. And Joseph came over because he was bored from staying home. And he come over with the girls.
Okay. And what did that entail, helping him take care of the girls? What did y'all do?
We just played together.
Did you put them to bed?
He
at
doesn't,
all?
I'm sorry?
Did you put them to bed at all?
I don't remember putting him to bed at that time, no.
So it was the afternoon?
Yes. Into the evening, but I don't think they stayed overnight. I don't remember. I'm sorry, I don't remember.
Did you have an opportunity to have the girls stay with you overnight?
Yes.
Can you tell us about that? When was that?
It was over my husband's birthday, which is October 3rd. I think it was like the end of September, probably like the 30th, until probably around the 5th of October.
And did the girls stay with you?
Yes,
Did they sleep at your house?
yes,
Did they go to anybody else's house?
no,
Did they go to your daughter's house at all?
no,
So you took care of them during this period of time.
yes,
Who bathed them?
I did.
Who tucked them in at night?
My husband and myself.
So you had opportunities to see them unclothed, correct?
Yes.
And did you see any bruises, marks, or cuts or abrasions?
No. If I would have saw anything on those kids, I would have turned Jen and Joseph both in myself.
Why did the girls not go to South Dakota with Jennifer and Joseph?
They were going,
Can you speak into the microphone?
I'm sorry, they were going to South Dakota because my ex-husband was getting married, which is Joseph's father. And they had found out shortly before going up there that it was going to be at a casino or a tavern of some sort, and they didn't want to take the kids.
Did you take the children to Chuck E. Cheese one?
Yes.
And did anything significant happen?
Well, I took the kids to Chuck E. Cheese on my husband's birthday. Well, him and I took them. We just had a blast. We had little ID cards made with their pictures on it. And they got their little prizes with the tickets, and we had a blast.
Did the girls fall asleep on the way home?
They did, yeah.
Did they get disciplined for falling asleep?
Response?
Not reading, Your Honor, did they?
Overruled.
Did they fall asleep on the way home?
They fell asleep on the way home. It was quite a drive.
Did they get disciplined for falling asleep?
No, of course not.
In all your time that you have been with the girls and with Jennifer and Joseph, have you ever seen or heard the children being disciplined for sleeping?
No. Any parent welcomes that.
On October 17th, did you attend Millie's birthday party?
October 17th, yes, that was at Noah's Ark.
And at Noah's Ark, do you recall the children changing out of their clothing, out of their Halloween costume?
Yeah, Laila was little Olaf, and Millie was Elsa. And before we went to, it was like some kind of festival they were having. Before we went and did the festival stuff after the birthday party, they changed.
And what did they change into?
Just regular clothes.
Did you see them undressed on the picnic table?
Yeah, she had to do it on the picnic table. There was no place else to do it.
And did you see any bruises, marks, cuts, or abrasions?
No.
Did you have occasion to see them on Halloween?
Yes.
And how did you have occasion to see them on Halloween?
For Halloween, everybody went over to Jen and Joseph's house.
And when you
Take the kids trick-or-treating. What they did was they drove the kids around in the truck to each of the houses and let them trick-or-treat.
When you say everyone went over to Jen and Joseph's house, who's everyone?
My daughter, her husband, my other grandkids, and Laila and Millie, and myself and my husband, Jennifer and Joseph.
Did you have occasion to see the girls undressed at that time?
My daughter helped Jen in the living room put their costumes on.
So did you see any bruises, marks, or cuts at that time?
No, I did not.
Did you go on November 11th to a family outing at Olive Garden?
Yes.
And who was there?
Pretty much the same people, myself and my husband, Laila and Millie, and Jen and Joseph, and my daughter Jennifer, and her husband, Randy.
Is there any significant event about that day that rings any bells in your mind as you sit here?
Laila wasn't feeling well. I mean, she didn't want to eat. We tried getting her to eat. Pretty much the whole time she just sat on Jen's lap, and then she fell asleep.
She fell asleep on Jen's lap?
Yeah. I cut my foot that day. I stepped on a piece of glass and it went through my shoe, so I really remember that day.
On November 16th, did you FaceTime the girls?
Yes, I
And
did.
what does that involve?
Just a telephone call where you can see through FaceTime.
And why did you FaceTime the girls?
I was asking Jen, well, actually, I FaceTime them all the time. And they
FaceTime?
ever since we've had the girls, we FaceTime instead of call. So that was nothing unusual. But at that time, I was asking Jen how to spell their names correctly because I was wrapping Christmas presents for the girls.
And what were they doing when you were FaceTiming them on November 17th?
They were sitting at the kitchen table, coloring, having fun.
Did they seem in distress?
No.
Did you see any cuts, bruises, or abrasions?
No.
Were you at the hospital on November 17th when Laila passed?
Yes.
What do you remember about that night?
It was horrible.
Can you speak into the microphone?
They took me into a room. In the room was my daughter and her husband, Jen and Joseph, and myself. My husband didn't come with me. And basically there was two people. I think one's name was Cleveland. I don't know who the other one was. He was sitting down, but they started asking Jen what happened, and she was having a hard time telling him because she was so distraught.
When you say she was so distraught, how did that manifest itself?
Well, tears were running down her face, and she was hanging on to Joseph, and she just kept saying she couldn't believe it, she couldn't believe it.
And what was Joseph's reaction? What was Joseph?
He was crying, we were all crying.
What did you hear them talk about?
Who's them?
Cleveland and the other gentleman.
They were asking questions to Jen as far as what happened, what was her recall. Mr. Cleveland, the only reason I know his name because he made a comment to Jen about, he said something like, "Oh, you're that Jen Rosenbaum?"
Did Jen answer the questions as best she could?
Yes.
girls on other occasions other than what I have gone through with you just now?
Yes.
Is it fair to say you spent a lot of time with the girls?
Probably, as far as physically, I'd say on an average, maybe once a week. Between them coming over to the house, all the special occasions, we do everything as a family.
And did you ever see Jennifer or Joseph hit, spank, stomp, or in any way hurt Millie or Layla?
I never did.
Did you ever
She used timeout.
She used timeout.
She used timeout or not letting them play with their toy.
Did you ever see on them the results of being stomped, hit, spanked with a belt, or hurt in any way?
No, never.
Did you have occasion to see them undressed during these times?
Some of them,
And were you able to see their Layla's back, for example?
if she was undressed, I did, yes.
And if she was wearing a sundress, did you have occasion to see her back?
Yes. It was open in the back.
Did you ever see any bruises, marks, cuts?
I never saw anything that didn't look normal for a toddler.
Did Millie or Layla ever tell you they were afraid of Jennifer or Joseph?
No,
Did they ever tell you that they were being hurt, hit, spanked, stomped, kicked?
no,
You had them alone at times, correct?
yes. I had them alone for a whole week.
And at no point did they say anything about being hit, kicked,
No.
stomped?
They were very affectionate to Jen and Joseph. They loved Jen and Joseph. And Jen and Joseph are good parents.
You have other grandchildren, you've testified to that already.
I do.
And do you allow them to go over to Joseph and Jennifer's house?
Yes,
Do you allow them to do that even after their arrest?
yes,
Do you have any concerns?
no.
Has any of the grandchildren said anything about getting into trouble for falling asleep in the car?
No,
Did Millie and Layla ever tell you anything about getting in trouble for falling asleep in the car?
no,
You said if you saw any abuse, you would have reported and turned in both Jennifer and Joseph.
I would, yes.
And have you done that before?
Have I done what?
Have you turned in a family member before to DFACS or for abuse?
I didn't turn her in, but I've dealt with defects before for a family member.
Okay. And you have, and it involved children, correct?
Yes, but it wasn't abuse.
Was it fair to say it was neglect?
Yes. Well, yeah.
And in fact, you have worked with DFACS and gotten to be one of the people that children are allowed to be.
I've had defects at my house, looking around, see if it was appropriate for children, asking me and my husband all kinds of questions. I'm sure they did a background check for both of us. Whatever it is they do, I'm sure they did, because I have 2 grandkids that I have custody of.
Thank you, Ms. Rosenbaum.
Okay, cross.
Good morning, Ms. Rosenbaum.
Good morning.
My name's Edward Chase. I'm with the DA's office, okay? This is tough for you, isn't it?
It is. It
Well-
really is.
You love Layla.
I did.
You love Millie.
Yes, I do.
You love your son and your daughter-in-law too, don't you?
I do.
I want to ask you a few questions to follow up, just from some of the answers that you gave before, okay? And then if you need a minute, you just let me know, okay?
Okay.
You okay right We talked a little bit, or you talked a little bit about some of the training that you received in the military when Ms. Mull was questioned. Do you remember that?
Yes.
And she specifically asked you about whether you received child CPR, the child Heimlich maneuver. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Do you recall if you ever received training regarding adult CPR?
In the military?
Yes.
I had combat CPR. It wasn't necessarily child or adult, and it's only for people that are going into combat.
So for people, did that include like chest compressions and the
Yes.
rescue breaths and all that?
Well, yeah.
Okay. And what about the Heimlich maneuver? Did you receive any training on the Heimlich maneuver when you were in the
No.
military?
No.
Okay. Ms. Mull asked you about a whole bunch of dates. Let me ask you about some dates that are closer in time. When's the last time you saw Laila live
On FaceTime?
on FaceTime? And that was on the 16th?
Yes.
Yeah, unfortunately you have to answer out loud for us just for the
Yes.
recording.
Yes.
And when you did that, do you recall what she was wearing?
I think it was a sleeveless shirt. It was like a light green and pink.
But it was, she was wearing a shirt, correct?
Oh, yeah.
You didn't get to see her abdomen.
No.
You didn't get to see her back.
No.
Did you get to see her her groin area,
No.
her upper thigh area?
No.
As far as the, did you notice any abrasions on her face?
No.
Have you seen any of the photographs in this case that have come from either the medical examiner or from the
No, I have not.
Are you aware that the medical examiner found healing abrasions on the forehead?
No.
So it's safe to say that you did not see them.
I did not see. I have not seen bruises on Laila or Millie.
So you haven't seen bruises on Millie either.
No.
Are you aware that Millie is a victim in this case as well?
I wasn't aware, but I guess I am now.
You weren't aware that Millie also had injuries to her.
No.
You didn't know that Millie had large bruising on her side and her butt that went up onto her back.
I did hear that she had a hip injury, but I didn't hear anything about the bruising, if there was bruising.
What about, did you know that Millie had a broken arm?
No.
That was never told to you. Were you aware that Millie had bruising on her neck? That was consistent with the high impact trauma.
No.
Were you aware that Millie had injuries to her ear that were consistent with someone pulling on her ear?
No, I've not spoke with anybody about Millie's injuries, if she had any.
So you knew nothing about that aspect of it.
No.
Does that surprise you at all?
Yes, it does.
Does that concern you at all? That,
Yes, it
that
does.
Millie had them as well.
Yes.
Why does it concern you?
Because I consider her my granddaughter, and kids that age shouldn't have things like that.
So if she had them and she was only in the custody and care of Joseph and Jennifer when she received them, would that cause you concern as to who inflicted them?
I know better than that.
You know better than that.
I do.
How do you think she got them?
I have no idea. You talking about Millie?
Yes, Millie.
I don't know.
You don't know.
Were they previous?
Not according to the testimony from people who testified here.
Well, I didn't see any bruises other than maybe... In fact, I don't remember seeing any bruises, but if she had any, I'm sure they were just normal kid kind of things that nobody would pay attention to.
Ma'am, I'm going to show you a photograph. And this is, apologize in advance, but I'm going to show you a photograph. I'm going to ask you to look at it and tell me if you think this is a normal type bruise that a child would have. Okay? And what's going to show up behind you? And for the record, I'm showing State's Exhibit 80, which is a photograph of Millie from the hospital on November 17th.
Are you sure that's a bruise? It looks like a rash.
You think that's a rash?
That doesn't look like a rash.
I'm going to show you who's been admitted to State's Exhibit 78. Which is also a photograph of Millie from November 17th at the hospital.
No, that looks like a bruise.
That looks like a bruise. I'm going to show you what's been admitted into evidence of State's 328. Can you see the side of her neck there?
I do.
Does that appear to be a bruise to you?
I don't know.
You don't know.
I mean, it could have been her scratching.
Could have been a scratch. When's the last time, if you recall, seeing Millie?
Same time.
So you saw her that same time. Okay. Do you remember what she was wearing?
I want to say a red outfit, but I'm not sure.
Okay. Did you recall if some of the side area that I showed you before, the one you thought was a rash? Would that be an area that you would have seen when you were FaceTiming with her on November 16th?
No.
Prior to November 16th, I guess when is the last time you saw them in person, if you recall?
I don't recall.
It had been a few weeks.
I'm sure it wasn't that long.
Did you maybe at least a week?
Probably at least a week. I was going to, in fact, I called Jen on the 17th, and I told her that I was going to come over, or that I wanted to come over, but I decided not to because it was Jen's birthday, and I was going to go over, my husband and I, and just bring her a gift for her birthday. But instead of doing that, I called her and I told her that I had bought her some AMC movie tickets for her and the kids and Joseph, and they could just go, have a family night or whatever for her birthday. But that was a phone call. That wasn't FaceTime.
Okay. You talked a little bit about, with Miss Mall, the trip to South Dakota, correct? And I think he decided that the girls were not going to go. Were you aware, though, that she told the girls' biological family that that at the last minute they needed the plane ticket for, I believe it was Joseph's sister, and so they were just going to drive Millie. So they indicated that Millie was going to go as well. Were you aware that they made this? Jennifer made
I thought they were going to take the kids until they found out from my ex-husband where it was going to be, where the reception was going to be. And then they asked me if I would watch the kids, my husband and I.
Are you aware that they told the biological family specifically?
Excuse me. Who has that device? Please turn off all electronic devices that have not been authorized by Rule 22. Thank you.
I think we were talking about the South Dakota trip. Were you aware that Jennifer told Ms. Banks after the trip was over had indicated to Ms. Banks that Millie did go, that she just drove instead of flying.
No, I had no idea.
You talked about being in the car with them. Is it safe to say that you were not in the car with them every single time they went somewhere?
Oh, yes.
Okay. So there were occasions where you were in the car, correct?
Yes.
All right, but not every single time, correct?
No.
And as far as when you weren't there, would you agree with me that you don't necessarily know what goes on in the home when you aren't physically there?
I agree.
And if there was physical abuse in the house, would you agree with me that that might be something that Joseph didn't mention to you?
No.
Do you think he would talk to you about the abuse?
Joseph is not the type of person. I don't believe Jen is either. So you could tell me all day long. I'll never believe it.
Okay. My question, though, is that would you agree with me that that's something that, if it was happening in the home, he probably wouldn't mention to you?
I wouldn't think you would.
He would not mention that to you?
No. Unless Jen was doing it.
Unless Jen.
And he wasn't, yeah.
All right.
He would. He comes to me for advice quite a bit, actually.
Because your mom, right?
Yeah.
You've known him longer than anyone, right? I want to talk about the November 11th Olive Garden. Do you recall what Laila was wearing that day?
No, Laila pretty much sat on Jen's lap the whole time.
Okay.
She didn't feel good.
You don't specifically recall what she was wearing?
No.
It's safe to say she had clothes on.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. There was no incident, or there was no time where she was changed at the table or changed in front of you or anything like that?
No.
We talked about the hospital and Mr. Cleveland coming in. Were you aware that Mr. Cleveland recognized Ms. Rosenbaum from just happening to see public access to you day?
No, I didn't know where that came from. That's why it struck me as so odd. My daughter's name at the time, well, my daughter's maiden name is Jennifer Rosenbaum. So when he said that, I was like, and both of them were there.
And you mentioned that when the girls were undressed, or when they started examining the body, they saw some injuries, correct? That's what the medical.
I had
team
heard,
said.
yes.
Were you aware that some of those injuries were actually healing injuries, meaning that they didn't occur?
I had heard that as well.
Were you aware that Jennifer acknowledged that some of the bruising, that Laila did have bruising at the top of her back?
I don't know where it was.
She acknowledged that she did have some bruising.
I don't know if she did or not.
Is that something that she said in your presence or not?
No. No. You mean, was that part of her story that she told
She acknowledged
about
that-
what happened?
She acknowledged that some at the top were healing.
Ma'am, this is no time for you to ask him questions. He's the one that asks the questions and you provide the responses. And you're doing your best to just want to let you know.
Ma'am, the healing, were you aware that she'd acknowledged that some of the bruising at the top of the back, that Laila had some bruise at the top of the back?
No.
Were you aware that Laila broke her leg?
Yes, I didn't know it was broke. I thought it was just fractured, but yes.
And what did you know about how that fracture occurred?
Jen had told me that Millie had said that when they were at her great-grandmother's home, that Laila had tripped and fell in a hole.
And that's how it happened?
And when they got back, Millie had told her that that had happened. And then when she took the kids to gymnastics,
Were you aware that Laila was never actually enrolled in gymnastics?
I was.
And
But Jen was thinking about enrolling her. And she took her when Laila had her classes.
And that's what Jen told you?
Hmm?
Were you aware that Jennifer has provided a different history of events to various different people, as far as how the fracture?
I would have no idea what she tells anybody but me.
Okay. would it change your opinion if you were to find out that she told different people different versions of events as far as how the leg was broken?
No.
That would not change your opinion?
No, because I wouldn't probably believe them.
You wouldn't believe them. And when I'm talking about them, I'm talking about the medical professionals that she sought treatment from. Were you aware that she told different medical professionals different things?
No. Why would I be aware of that?
Were you aware that the second medical professional that she saw, Dr. Duxbury, had specific concerns for child abuse and directed her to go to the Eggleston Hospital, Children's Hospital in Atlanta, to seek further treatment? She acknowledged that she would do so, yet never went.
I have no knowledge of that.
Were you aware that she then 3 days later went to another medical professional and did not mention ever going to that previous doctor and the doctor wanting her to go to Eggleston?
Is that a question?
Yes. Were you aware of that?
I don't have any knowledge of that, no.
So were you aware that she told the biological family, she mentioned absolutely nothing about falling in Peggy's yard? Were you aware of that?
No.
Were you aware that Laila had not even been over to Peggy's house in several weeks, if not months?
No.
Were you aware that she told the defects worker nothing about falling at Peggy's house and only fell at gymnastics?
I mean, I don't have any idea what she told other people.
Is that,
I was not aware, no.
Does that concern you?
Yes, in a way, if that's the truth.
That's the truth. It concerns you that she's telling different people different things.
I don't believe she is, but if she was, it would concern me, yes.
And the people at the gym, she also never mentioned anything to the people at the gym that Laila hurt herself there. Were you aware of that?
I was not aware of that, no.
Would that concern you as well?
It would. She may not have thought that Laila hurt herself that bad. I mean, I wouldn't say anything either if I didn't think anything of it.
Were you aware that in addition to the bruising on the body, Laila also had a broken arm?
No, yes, I had heard that.
You had heard that. Were you aware that the doctors have testified that broken arm was...
But I had heard that was a previous injury.
Okay. And where did you hear that from?
Jen and Joseph.
Were you aware that the doctors, however, said that injury was about 10 days to a few weeks old?
No, I wasn't aware of that.
Would that concern you?
It would.
Were you aware that Laila also had a healing rib fracture?
No, I wasn't aware of that.
And the type of fracture that she had was in the back, and it's highly indicative of child abuse, because absent child abuse, you don't really see that type of injury. Were you aware of that?
No.
Were you aware that the doctors have also stated that would have occurred during the time period that Laila was living with Jennifer and Joseph?
No.
Would that concern you?
Of course it would.
Were you aware that Laila also had healing injuries to her abdomen that predated the injuries that occurred on November 17th?
I had heard she had previous injuries.
And where did you hear that from?
Jen and Joseph.
Nothing further.
Okay, thank you.
Just briefly, did you ever see either child favor their arm in any way?
No.
Did either child ever say to you, my arm hurts?
No. I never had any inkling at all that there were injuries to either one of them.
So, with regards to the leg, did she ever tell you my leg hurts prior to the cast being put on it?
No.
Thank you, that's all I have.
All right, thank you, ma'am. You can step down and you're excused. Unless there's an objection.
No objection to the statement.
Okay, you're free to go. Which means that you can also stay in the courtroom if you'd like. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take our mid-morning break now. We'll take 15 minutes and we'll come back.